What is up, Gooch Gang? My name is Zandie Boi, and today I just want to show you guys my written publication website before I start the actual discussion video on Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse. I just figured, you know what, let me just take some time to also show you guys what I'm working on besides the actual video discussions and the occasional short that I do. So this is what I really have a particular passion in. While I do really like the video discussions that I work on, I also definitely love writing as well. That's definitely my number one passion. So I just want to take some time to show you guys this website. So this is like the homepage right here. We got my blog posts that I write. Recently, I just wrote a article on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which, spoiler, might be my favorite movie of the year so far. I also got other works on here. I also write about historical works. I very much love writing about history as well. So I got a couple of those. I also, if you scroll down to the bottom, I also have some articles on movies that I've watched this year, such as Creed 3 and Dungeons and Dragons movie. So that's pretty much all, most of my written works that are on here. I do definitely intend on putting more as, because this is definitely a work in progress. I definitely intend on writing more for this website and for my general brand. So this is my about page, and then this is my contact. If you want to contact me, you can just reach me on here. Name, email, message, and yeah. Just want to show you guys briefly before I start today's video, and yeah, just enjoy the video, and I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in reading any of my articles. And yeah, have a great day. Alright, hello everyone. I am the wonderful and handsome and modest and humble Zandie Boi. I'm joined again by a glassless Jadyn. Hello, Jadyn. Welcome, and thank you
Hey,
for wearing your contacts.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
always a
I
pleasure.
forgot my glasses in the car. It's not.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about Miguel O'Hara's favorite character, Spider-Man, specifically the Lego one, of course. We're going to be talking about the Spider-Verse 2, of course, Cross Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
I personally really loved it, as has many other people.
Manny.
I know. So here's the thing, okay? I think the original is a lot better, you know? Like, I think there's no way they can ever top the original movie. Like, even if, like, this new movie has, like, something super, like, specific or, like, super, like, something for you. Like, there's, like, so much new stuff just in the movie that I think it will be able to resonate with a larger audience. And for me, I think the original is so much better because it's able to craft a simpler story, but also a lot more effective one because it was not worried about all of like these different Spider-Man. Like you have Miles Morales, you have Gwen Stacy, you have 2099. You have to also account for all the other Spider-Man that were introduced in the first movie, and now there's like hundreds of new Spider-Man introduced in this new movie. So I think that this movie does a very solid job at going big and going hard and like swinging it out in the ballpark, as the sports people would say. But I just prefer the first one. Like this is like a certain magic for the first one, especially because the first one, like that's the movie that got me into movies. That's the movie that I always look back to and think like, man, like
Oh,
this is why I love to do what I'm doing now because I saw that movie.
I didn't
Uh,
know that, dude. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, like I was at a point one time when I hated Tom Holland Spider-Man. I hated MCU
Yeah,
Spider-Man because I was watching because my friend he was watching this one YouTuber called High Top Films. I don't know if you know him.
yeah, I do. I don't like
Yeah,
it.
and I don't like him either anymore. But he hated Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I kind of followed his opinion, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, I hate Tom Holland Spider-Man. I actually, I was going to send this guy an email at one point and be like, dude, I hate Tom Holland Spider-Man. We should do a collab, you know? Like I was getting to like the YouTube stuff. It's like, man, we should do a collab or something. Like that'd be super sick. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I watched Spider-Verse after watching Far From Home because I was super disappointed with Far From Home. And Spider-Verse, like, just something like changed, you know? Like I loved movies beforehand. Don't get me wrong. But
Mm-hmm.
like after watching Spider-Verse, like damn, like you can be so creative with this sort of medium, and it made me love movies so much.
Yeah. That was such a magical movie. And I feel like that like was like obviously the main character is Miles Morales
Hmm.
and like the other lead character is Gwen Stacy. But I feel like that movie is like the perfect movie about just what Spider-Man is. You know what I mean? It's like the character of Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it was really magical. And when I first watched it, I was just like, this is amazing. This gets everything right about what I feel about Spider-Man. It
Hmm.
makes me like, it solidifies everything that you feel about Spider-Man. You're just like, this is perfect. This is a
Yeah.
perfect Spider-Man movie. And I that's why it's regarded as one of the best. And that's why I think they're correct. Um, but I guess we can segue to the next one right now. Personally, I agree with that opinion. I thought did a very solid job, just being a sequel and expanding and being bigger and better. Um, and really the main thing I feel with it is I feel I've started to see a lot more people saying this, but at first a lot of people didn't say this, but to me it feels like an incomplete movie. To me it feels like almost just like half of a movie. And obviously there are people that are like, "Oh my god, I hated that cliffhanger, but the
Oh my
movie was so
God.
good." And like I agree with that. Like
Yeah.
I want to see the reason I hate it is because I want to see more, right? Like
Yeah.
it
Definitely.
was
Yeah.
that second half was so good that I was just like so enamored and I wanted to see more.
Yeah.
I
Like
was
you.
just so thirsty for more.
Yeah. And
And people are saying, okay, that means it's good. That like that means he was really good because it makes you want more. And
mm,
personally, I disagree
yeah.
because I didn't feel satisfied. I really felt like I went there to watch a movie, like a first part of two movies, but I went there to watch a movie, and I feel like I didn't get a complete movie. I got like the first half of a movie. What I feel like is I feel like I got a first act and a second act, and I didn't get any conclusion to almost anything. And I get people are gonna say like, oh, that's a two-part movie. You're not gonna get a
Yeah.
conclusion. This didn't even feel like that. The the
So.
the, the main thing
Yeah.
that sorry, the main thing that I want to compare it to is Infinity War and Endgame. Obviously, that's the biggest like
Hmm.
two-part movie that people will bring up and
Yeah.
people know about.
Hmm.
Infinity War. I know I read your blog post and they say like Infinity War is the best MCU movie or the second best.
Yeah.
I agree with that because it feels like its own movie. It's its very own thing. You know what I mean?
Mm,
There is a cliffhanger at the end and the story's not completely resolved. Like there are some loose ends, but that movie has a first act, second act, a third act, a final climax to everything. Things get paid off. There's that movie also just has like the most amazing action I've ever seen too. And I'm really big into action. Um, but that movie, I felt satisfied. I was just like floored after the ending. You know what I mean? I felt satisfied with everything that went on in that movie. I wasn't like, oh God, there wasn't enough. I just want
yeah.
to wait till the next movie. You
You
know,
were content.
I was very content. This movie, I felt like people are not saying this, and I don't know. I guess I do believe this, but the first half of this of Across the Spider Verse was boring. Was boring. Really, really boring, in my opinion. I just found myself waiting until they got to the Spider Verse space and they got to like the actual like story. You know what I mean? Like the stuff, and this is why I was saying like I was questioning it because the first half is good. I can't even say that it's
Mm,
bad. I can't
yeah.
even the stuff with his family. Like the reason these movies are so good because they're so well written, they're so well thought of. The
Mm,
directors are smart. Everyone, the writing, the animation, it's all amazing. So I can't even really call it bad. It's just like
yeah.
I just felt bored. I just felt like I was waiting for the actual story. I was waiting for it to come. Like I just found myself like by the time it came, it was like the movie was like practically over. Everything was
So
like two-thirds into the movie when they finally like get to the base and actually progress the story and explain what's going on. and also like they marketed it like that was like the main part of the movie, and like that was it essentially. That was it.
Okay. Yeah.
I I don't know. I think the movie is amazing, and if
Mm.
you want to say it's the best Spider-Man movie, I
Go for it.
I'm a little mad at that because it
Yeah.
doesn't make a
It's
complete movie,
not.
but it is up to that quality. I will say
Yeah.
it is up to that quality. If this movie ran for like an hour or two more,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense for theaters, but like if you thought about it that way, like if the story actually concluded, it would be the best Spider movie. It might be one of the best movies I've ever seen because it's that good. But the reason why I prefer the first one, the reason why you probably prefer the first one, is that it feels like a complete story. It's a
Yeah.
complete origin story. It has payoffs. It completes things. You're not just saying, okay, I can't wait for the next one. I want to see the next one. So, I mean, it really was great, and I enjoyed seeing it. But I was so excited for a movie, and I feel like I just got the first half of a movie. So, yeah,
So here's the thing is that I knew you were going to say something like super valid, Man, like that's a like you were able to because we have like we agree on certain parts, but we also disagree on other parts. But like your opinion is like super valid too. It's like so let me first start off with like the origin story part of like Into the Spider-Verse. So I I started to grow like I started to like MC Spider-Man. Like I started to be like, oh yeah, like I was wrong originally. I thought like this was actually a decent
yeah,
story. And No Way Home, at one point that was my favorite MCU movie. Because it was big, it was like super cool. You gotta see Andrew Garfield, you gotta see Tobey Maguire. There's Daredevil. Daredevil is my favorite superhero, even though I love Spider-Man as well. It's just
mm-hmm.
Daredevil means so much to me. And like seeing this movie, it made me just like, damn, I was so wrong with like how much I liked No Way Home. Because it ends so well too, because it ends the origin trilogy of of Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it does a super good job at that. But also you could make the argument of like should it have taken three movies to get to that point? Because you could definitely because especially with like the events of like he was in Infinity War, he was in Endgame, he was in Civil War. They didn't need to have three movies for him. And going back to Spider-Verse, they told one story for Miles Morales
yeah.
in a single movie, less time than any of the other Tom Holland movies, and still crafted a beautiful story. One with the visuals, one with the story, just everything, like even the audio, like the music, the soundtracks, just everything
Soundtrack.
make just yeah, like exactly. Another thing is that I think Across Spider-Verse soundtrack is better. Just
Yeah,
personally, like it's
I know.
I originally thought Into Spider-Verse was the best soundtrack, but I think
No, 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 no.
Across, dude,
This
this
movie soundtrack, I've had it on repeat the past couple days, bro. It's
dude,
insane, bro.
like
That last
Hummingbirds.
track is like
So
insane.
I I was never a huge fan of the Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack, but there's so many hits on that album. You got What's Up Danger, Sunflower, Star Riots. You got all incredible songs on that album. But with Across Spider-Verse, you got Hummingbirds, you got Annihilate, you got Am I Dreaming, you got Self Love. Like you got all these incredible songs in one album. And Metro Boomin, he's I want to say he's the MVP of this movie. Because like he put his working boots on. Like everyone did. Like I think he did like the best job of anyone personally. Because the soundtrack was just
He just finished an album recently too. It's
yeah,
like
like
it's like the second album he's made in like only a few months. It's crazy.
I was never familiar with Metro Boomin before like oh yeah he's going to be producing the Spider-Verse soundtrack.
Yeah,
Like it's so amazing. And like
yeah.
you also look at the score with I think his name is Daniel Pemberton. Like the
Can I be
what?
honest? When you were talking about how good the music was, I was talking about the score. To be honest,
Oh no,
we were talking about the
dude.
same thing. I was talking about
Oh
the score.
no. Okay,
Yeah,
well the
it's. I mean,
score
no, that both are great. You know what
yeah
I mean?
both are great,
Honestly,
yeah.
I'm not. It's not even that different what I'm saying, but I
Yeah.
was thinking about the scores.
But yeah,
I'm
like
a big fan of movie scores. The score was
yeah,
sensational in this movie.
like Guggenheim Assemble was like like that, like dude,
Yeah.
like I've been driving and just playing that song like on repeat. It's like, dude, like this is so cool. Like I'm getting hyped up. I'm getting hyped up to like go to like the like even to like shop rates. Like I'm getting hyped up to get to shop rates. Like get there,
Yeah.
like it's so awesome.
The movie is pure art. It's art.
Yeah, it's just
It's art
art.
in
Yeah.
music. It's art in like getting all these artists to come together, like musical artists to come together, like Metro Boomin. I forget who else is on the album, but
Schwale, and I think Schwale.
oh really? This is the
Yeah,
first one, the
no,
second
no,
one.
no. So Schwale was in the first one,
Yeah,
but like everyone refers to Sunflower as the Post Malone song, even though Schwale made that song. Like, dude, like
I don't
Schwale
know that.
has two songs in this new album. Like, he finally gets like the credit that he deserves, which I'm super happy about. Because Schwale, I want to say he did some songs for the WWE, like like when the main entrance themes for all for some of the wrestlers. I
Mm-hmm.
I want to say he was part of those. If not, then I'm just familiar with like the Spiderverse soundtracks and like, dude, just like he's so good. He deserves more recognition. But I want to get back to your point of
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm sorry about that.
Oh no,
No,
I was on the tangent too. But yeah.
yeah. Going back to like how this movie feels in some way like kind of cheap. I It's frustrating because this is such a incredible art piece and it does so much well. Like before we were recording, I was talking about how a 14-year-old recorded like made the Lego stop motion part.
Mm,
It's just so frustrating knowing that there's so many incredible artists and so many incredible talent who made this movie special. But
mm-hmm.
like
You know it's special. You know it is. Like I
it's
know how good this
special.
movie
It's
is.
special. It's just
I'm not gonna refute anybody and tell them the movie isn't amazing. It really
yeah.
isn't. Everything is
It's
really
so
really
amazing.
crafted.
Yeah, like
At the end of the day, you're just like,
I
yeah,
completely agree with you that like oh yeah, like saying it's the best Spider-Man movie ever
I can't do that.
is
Yeah, I
that's
can't.
an over I can't with that. Like that's an overstatement.
Yeah,
I disagree with you on the fact that the first half is boring because I think that part, the beginning, that was important and because yes, we already are familiar with Miles and Gwen, right? Like we got to know them in the first movie. But
yeah.
now they're at completely different parts of their lives now. Like Miles, he's not the little kid anymore. Like yeah, he's 15, but you can see like in the movie, like he's grown a lot. Like physically, like mentally too. Like yeah, he still has like the antics of like a little kid, but that's because like he's 15. Like you can't expect him to be like a fully mature adult yet. Like he's still going to make so many mistakes. We all do, but you can tell that like he's at such a different point in his life now. Same with Gwen. Like yeah, she was making mistakes as well, but also she's now at the point of her life where she realizes like I had feelings for Miles. I realized like even though there is that age gap, I realized that he is special to me. And now she's now like yeah, she had Spiderpunk, like she was dating Spiderpunk, but now she also sees like Miles made me who I am, and Miles is so special to me. And now I see him as like a romantic figure in my life. Like showing like their backstories, seeing like the turmoil that Gwen especially and Miles deal with, like being Spider-Man, being themselves as well. Like that's super special. And I can see why, maybe you're expecting something else. Like you're expecting action, you're expecting like the spider lobby, that being like a more integral part of this movie. But also just seeing these characters develop from the last movie, I think that's amazing.
yeah. I would I would agree. I would agree with that. You're right. You have a really good point. It is important, and like I said before, like it is expertly crafted, and everything they're doing is very good for both of those characters. I just personally felt like it was drawn out, and I felt like they just spent too much time on it. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
felt like they kind of like I don't know. I just felt like they're saving so much for the next movie. Like they I was going in and expecting the story about, like the stuff that I got with like the canon events and like, all the story about whether he has to save his dad or not. Like that's what I came for. I came for that amazing, like, the real story of it.
Could I ask
Um
you a question?
yeah.
Do you think this movie would have worked better if you trimmed down that?
Yes.
Okay, hold
I was
on.
just about to
Okay,
say.
okay. Let me just like, no, you go first. You go first.
Well, I was gonna say you're right about like it is needed. A lot of that. I'm not saying like the first half is all trash and you need to take it out. Like that is needed, and it was good. It was really good. I'm physically incapable to say it wasn't good. You know, I mean, I would say maybe some of it was tedious, like with like him not Miles not telling his parents. Like we've seen that before. Maybe it got a little much at times, but most of it was needed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I just felt like they spent so much time on it, and they could have trimmed. They could have really trimmed that down.
Okay.
If you trim that down to what an actual first act is, which is like I don't know, like 45 minutes. If you trim the first half of the movie to 45 minutes, and you actually spent the rest of the movie getting things done, and like I don't know.
Yeah.
It just felt like it went
So
on long. And by the time that they like, got to the actual story, which is about the canon events, because that's the actual like important story of
yeah.
this.
Hmm.
Once they got to that, it was so late in the movie. I was like, I know this is gonna end and I'm not gonna be satisfied. I felt it. I felt it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is gonna end like, and I'm not gonna be satisfied because it just took too long. It just took too long. And honestly, like it's kind of ironic because some of it feels a little corporate to me. Like I don't know. It's
I can
ironic that I'm
understand
calling
that.
it corporate. It's ironic that I'm calling it corporate because this feels like the most uncorporate movie ever made.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the idea I feel like it's corporate a little bit because they're like I feel like they dragged this into two when they could have put it into one. I feel like they could have made this into one movie and trimmed out a
That's my
lot of
question
different things.
actually. Yeah, that's my
I feel
question.
like they could have trimmed a lot and made this into one movie. I feel like they didn't have to make it into like a two-part ending to a trilogy. And honestly, I mean, they're making a lot more money making this two movies. So that's why I'm saying that the corporate part may play into it. I may be wrong because like this is the most like artfully crafted movie in like a long time. And probably of like any movie these days, like this has the most like, creative force behind it. But I really feel like they could have just made this into one movie and I would have been way more satisfied. And then they could have saved the third movie and done something different. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
So, oh my God, you're bringing some hitter points right now. So my thing is that like, yeah, like it's corporate, like corporate tampering. You can definitely make that argument for that. But also, because I see this sort of um like the promotion that this movie has been doing. Like 5 minutes from my house, the Burger King, and they have the Spiderverse Whopper, and
Yeah, I got that too.
there's one, yeah, and like, okay, does real quick, does the Spiderverse Whopper taste different to you?
I no, I didn't say I never bought the Whopper.
I
I
didn't.
just
Just
my
knowing.
Burger King was like painted the Spider Verse because it
Yeah,
was in Queens, so it was like painted like I don't
yeah.
know.
I
It
mean,
is like
mine,
Spider Man
mine,
themed.
yeah, like mine's in Poughkeepsie, so they'd never do that.
Yeah.
But so I had the Spiderverse Whopper, and the Spiderverse Whopper appears in the movie. Like it looks different than, yeah,
Oh shit, you're right.
yeah.
I just
So it
remember.
so yeah, like it's blue and red. So it's not the same colors as like the Burger
Yeah,
King Spider-Verse Whopper. But also I feel like if you do it as the Spider-Verse movie did it'd take a lot more like investing in shit. Like
there
just
was a
make
moment. There was a moment also where one of the characters was playing Spider Man, like the Spider Man game, like
yeah,
Spider Man on
that was
the.
Genki. Genki was playing it
Yeah,
in his dorm room.
there's so many fucking Easter eggs in this movie, and it's like it's too much.
So do you oh man, there's so much talk about this movie. The script and like just everything
Yeah.
else about this movie.
Talk about the good things because there are a lot of good
There's a
things.
lot of, yeah, like I want to spend some time talking about like the Easter eggs because so I've seen the movie 3 times.
Whoa,
Yeah.
dude, it's a lot.
Once on the Thursday of release before I went to work, and
Hmm.
then
Oh
once
yeah, you have to watch. Don't you guys have to watch it to make sure it works or something like that?
no,
That's
I mean, yes, but also I just did it because I just wanted to see it. Like I couldn't wait. I just need to see
yeah.
it. Plus, our Spiderverse combo sold out super quickly. Like we got more inventory now, but it sold out like day one. Like we had nothing left. It was
What do you mean Spider-Verse combo? Like with the
like
bucket?
the popcorn. Yeah, so we have the popcorn bucket and then we have the cup, which is right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that
Not
sold
really.
out.
Like,
That sold out on Friday. Like it sold out in the span of less than 2 days.
wow.
Yeah. So at Regal, we have like projections of like how many people are expected to come to the theater, and then the reality is that some days we had like double or even triple the amount of numbers over that weekend. Like it was crazy the amount
Hmm.
of people that came to the movie. But
This movie is a lot better than the first one, which is deserved because the
it's
first one was
deserved.
really good. Not enough people went to see it. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of people saw the movie on streaming or saw it like in the past 5 years and they were like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And then I think the good reviews for this movie helped this movie a lot too. Like
Yeah.
I was so excited for the movie because I didn't see a single bad review. I don't think a
The,
single bad review. Every review I saw was great.
yeah, so day one, there's only one bad review. And I think that was just because like the dude's just like, oh, like, it's too artistic or something, like something stupid. Like the guy didn't have like an actual valid point. But
Yeah, when I saw a few, I saw they were still good reviews, but I saw a few reviews talking about. They said two things. There were two criticisms of the movie that I saw
mhm,
that I was like, this is an interesting critique.
yeah,
They said, what was the first one? They said that it felt really bloated, which
true. You could
I
definitely make that argument.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think I didn't think it felt too bloated. I thought, you know what I did think actually? I thought a lot of the Easter eggs a little bit were like a little bit cheap.
Yeah.
Like using Andrew Garfield or using footage like from other movies.
Yeah,
Like,
that was also
okay.
they had Donald Glover. I mean Donald Glover like in the cave.
That was
So
cool.
that
That
was
was cool
that
because
was
they got
cool.
something new. You know what
And
I mean?
also I don't think even the MCU confirmed that too. Like I don't think it
I,
was ever said like explicitly like this is the Prowler. I think it was just like, oh, this is Uncle Aaron, but never like this is the MCU Prowler. Like that's super cool.
we'll have to see about that. But
Yeah.
like I mean, it wasn't a big thing, but at certain times I was like, okay, like you're showing clips from other Spider-Man stuff. Wow, like it's amazing. Yeah, it didn't
Do
really like
you
get me
do
that
you
much.
do you think this movie was too pretentious?
What do you mean by that?
Pretentious as in like they know that this is a good movie and they're like being super cocky about it. Like,
No, I don't.
okay.
I don't think that. No, 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 because no, it's just no. I don't get that feeling.
Okay. Do you think like the Andrew Garfield and like the animated Spider-Man, like all that was deserved then?
Well, I knew like a lot of other people appreciate that, so I know they
Yeah.
did it. A certain crowd of people, they're like, oh look, this character.
Yeah.
A lot of fans of like the Spectacular Spider-Man show from like the 2000s,
Hmm.
and they were really happy to see like that character. But I'm just like, in my opinion, like I don't really care that much. It's
Yeah,
cool, but I
like
don't.
Insomniac Spider-Man, that was in the movie for a split
And
second.
that's cool.
Yeah, and like 203 in my theaters, everyone's like clapping and stuff. It's like, wow, people
That's
really care about Insomniac Spider-Man.
I kind of wish they had more of a role with some of the characters, but I mean, there's a lot of characters, so I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
I wish Scarlet. The one character I wish was in it more was Scarlet Spider, with like the Ben Riley, the one with the little vest. You know what I'm talking about?
uh, so do you read the comics?
Yeah. I will. I mean, not. I mean, I've read some currently, but I'm not really into comics as much as I am the movies. I grew up with the
Yeah,
movies, cartoons. I read some comics and I know comic history. Like I've read
yeah.
a lot of my dad's old comics, and
Yeah,
that's why I say I like Ben Riley and I wanted him to be in it because Ben Riley's
yeah,
a mad interesting character.
yeah. Do you So if I was okay, well, first off, I have the only comics I have is like Daredevil comics. Secondly, if I was a comic fan, would you feel disappointed that they made Ben Riley just like a comic relief character?
I was a little disappointed.
Okay.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, like, yeah, I was a little disappointed. I can't really make an excuse. Like, I wish he was like, a little bit better. But honestly, they gave that role to Spider Punk. Like they made Spider Punk an amazing character. He low key might have been the MVP of that movie. I fucking loved him. He
I
was
love
amazing.
Spider-Punk. Like,
He was so good in the movie.
dude, like he was just like I don't know. Oh my god, dude. So
So good.
he was like mm, I don't want to say he's too much because he's not. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's like so anti-authoritative, like
Mm-hmm.
so like counterculture and stuff.
And
It's like
yeah, and that was like a joke at first, and it was like, oh, his characters that he hates authority. But it ended up, I read something and it was like someone said in like some conversation they were like that ended up being an important part of the story. Like that character, that like that quirk of him hating the system
yeah, and
led
then
to
the
him forming that
palms.
team at the end. Just
Spy,
him showing the
yeah,
palms and that was the scene. Like
Spider-Punk was. Oh wow, he was super important then.
Spider, that's why I think he was the best character in the movie.
Yeah,
I think maybe behind Miles actually. I think
I was
Miles was incredible in this movie.
I was gonna say Spider-Gwen is the best character in the movie because
But
like into
okay,
Spider-Verse
yeah,
you
no
saw
matter.
you saw a lot of her, but like now you know like all the details in this movie with the flashbacks, and it's like and also like oh my god like the palette like her universe was like the different colors represent like conflicts in the character.
I didn't really like that. It was kind of distracting in my opinion.
Mm, I
I
thought it
mean,
was pretty. I thought it was
it was
cool.
no, it was creative, but like I don't know,
Yeah.
I didn't really rock with it. But I mean, yeah, I'm not mad at that. Spider Gwen had a lot to do with the movie, and she was very useful, and she was very like her character arc was very good.
Hmm.
You know, she had a lot to do.
Yeah.
I think that's
So.
show. There's just a lot of different great characters. Like Spider Punk, amazing. Spider Gwen, amazing. Had so much to do.
Mhm.
Miles, I was trying to think about it. Miles, this is a very
What
hot take. People won't agree with it. Miles might be the best Spider Man, or at
yeah,
least when this trilogy finishes, he
he
has a
will.
chance to.
He
But
has a chance.
I don't know. He was amazing in this movie. Amazing.
If you yeah, like
Both movies. Both
if
movies.
you compare him to like the live action Spider-Man, you could definitely make that argument for
Yeah.
sure. Like yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Tom Holland Spider-Man, but also I've accepted that the MCU is just like comfort foods for a lot of people. Like it's like this is like the easing into like superhero movies. Like this is the easing into like the genre for many people.
Yeah.
Like
That's a good way.
I've accepted that's what the MCU is. Like I think I put
And
this in
it's
my
that's
I,
not gonna change because
that's how
the
it's
MCU is
that's always
made for a worldwide audience. Every single movie is made for the mainstream.
yeah.
That's why I'll never not appreciate the MCU because the MCU made being a nerd cool. The MCU
Yeah.
made being into comics cool. It made it
Like
cool.
yeah,
If you
like
if you said that 20 years ago, honestly, you kind
you'd
of would
be
have been made fun of a little
you'd be
bit.
laughed at.
You'd be laughed at. Now
Yeah,
it's
like
cool.
even
Oh,
like you can even make the argument like 10 years ago, you'd still be laughed at. Because I was nerd in like elementary school and stuff, like elementary school, middle school. I would always be like bullied and like, just everyone just didn't like understand, like, yo, dude, like I'm into like the nerdy shit. I like, writing. I like just I don't like doing like sports and stuff.
mm-hmm.
No one really saw that. And like when I was younger. But now it's seeing like it all like explode. It's like so awesome.
Was the main reason for that. I feel like my dad explained it to me well. He said, Infinity War and Endgame, obviously two of the most popular movies of all time,
Mm.
but he said they were like the Star Wars of our generation. You know what I mean? And a lot
Yeah,
of
like
people felt like, oh, I want to be a part of that. You know what I mean? I want to
yeah.
get it. Like my girlfriend Layla told me, like she got into Marvel because of Endgame.
I got into it because of Infinity War. Like I watched Homecoming at first, but
Yeah.
Infinity War is what made me get into the MCU.
So
Like
you so
I
exactly
like I
you.
was super late into the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's
Yeah,
and that's what Marvel does. It brings people who don't know about Marvel, and they make them fans, and they make them part of the community. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's
Like
why Marvel, as bad as, and I know you just released your like defense essay, um, as bad as Marvel gets, you can never take away the fact what Marvel did for just superheroes, like any superhero
yeah,
media.
yeah.
So what we liked,
Okay. Spot I didn't like.
you didn't like. Interesting.
I think he's the worst part of the movie because I think it's so I look at um Into Spider-Verse and how Kingpin, like even Daredevil, like the Netflix show, Kingpin is the best superhero villain ever, in my opinion, because he's a man who has all the power in the city. He has everything that he could ever ask for. He has the girl, he has the money, he has the fame, he has the reputation, he has everything. And then Daredevil comes along. He tries to compromise that power. And Kingpin, seeing that his power is jeopardized and could potentially be ruined, he needs to fight for it. And that's why I love Kingpin as a character. And that's why I hate his interpretation of Hawkeye, because there's nothing in him. There was just that it was just like the comic, like like just like the comic reference, like, oh, he got shot in the eyes. I have that comic. I know, because in that comic, it's so rewarding. They build up to it. They can like Kingpin tried to ruin Daredevil, and then he gets blinded. He's like basically like he knows Daredevil's pain now in a different sense. That's what's so awesome. And then with the Spot, bagel.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah, you could say he's kind of shallow. Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think he's the main villain of the movie. That's the way I thought about it. Like
It was $20.99.
he's cool, but I don't even think it was 29. It was just like the fact that he had to accept that his parents died. You know what I mean? And the whole stuff with the Canada events, like that was the main conflict of the movie, which was more interesting. You know what I mean? The stuff with
Yeah.
Spy was interesting too, but it wasn't as interesting. It wasn't close. I
So
know,
this that just
but
shows like there's so much to talk about in Spiderverse,
a
but
lot to talk.
you can't all fit into like 40 minutes, which is crazy. Like you always find something new. And like I was like, like I was like bringing up different things too. Like I thought like this conversation was not fluid at all. It's like I was bringing up different points, which is fine. But like I thought like we were just talking about different things and like what we appreciate, what we noticed. It's like we didn't even talk about the Easter eggs too. It's like crazy.
Yeah, the
So
movie was a lot, and I appreciate it,
mhm,
and I think everybody appreciates it because of how much they love it,
yeah,
and it's people are saying it's gonna be one of the best superhero trilogies of all time, and I'm not gonna crown it yet, but I don't disagree. Like it's been amazing so far. It really has.
yeah.
Amazing.
And I think that's a good way to end this video.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Sorry for the rushed ending.
Yeah.
But that's because I have less than a minute with this. I should get Zoom Pro, so that we can talk about this more.